Hi everyone, welcome back to XCA. This is the first part of a new series where we will build an AI assistant expense tracker SwiftUI app from scratch. Our app will target three platforms using one single code base: iOS or iPadOS, macOS, and visionOS. And for the database, we're going to use Firestore database with real-time sync support across devices. And in this first part, we're going to focus on three main tasks. First, build the user interface with SwiftUI. Second, build the models and logic for adding, editing, listing, expenses log with filter and sorting capabilities. And third one, integrate Firestore database for persistence. We will add AI assistant capability using ChatGPT large language model later in the next video. It will utilize many ChatGPT APIs such as function call, whisper, and text-to-speech TTS API. You can check the video demo if you want to see the AI assistant feature in action as well. I've provided the link at the description below. Now let me show you a quick demo of the app that we will build by the end of this video. Here we have an expense list screen where it shows all our expense logs. The data is synced across all devices. As you can see here, the macOS app, iPhone, iPad, and visionOS. Okay, pretty nice, right? So by default, it shows expenses for all categories. We can filter by multiple categories as well. So here at the top, we have this carousel where we can select the categories to filter. So let's say utilities. And let's say I want to also filter by food category. Can select multiple. Okay, so it shows all the expenses for utilities and category. So pretty nice, right? We can also configure the sort by. So by default, it's sorted by the date here, the latest one. So it's descending. So the latest one is 4th May here. And you can also sort by amount and by the alphabetical name as well. You can also change the order, ascending or descending. And the next one that I want to show you is for adding an expense log. Okay, so let me show you using the macOS app. Click this add expense log. It will show this sheet where I can input the name of the log. So let's say water. And for the price, I can set it to $1. It should be under food. Where is food? Okay, under food category. And we can also configure the date and time as well. So pretty nice, right? So now let me save this. It should sync across all the devices. Okay, water here, water in iPhone, and water on iPadOS, and finally water on the visionOS. Nice, right? So we can also edit. Let's say here. Let me show you editing using visionOS. Okay, we'll show the sheet to edit. Let's say sparkling water, and price is $2, and save it. Nice, it is updated here on macOS, on iPhone, and also on the iPadOS. Very amazing, right? This is a real-time expense tracker application. And finally, let me just show you. We can just swipe to delete the expense if you want. Boom, and it got deleted from other devices as well. Okay, so that's it for this demo. We will have built all of this feature by the end of this video. It's going to be great, right? Without further ado, let's begin and start the code. Okay, so let's begin by opening Xcode and create a new project. Okay, and select this multi-platform app template. Click next, give it the product name that you want. I'm going to give it a name of AI expense tracker. Okay, and just click next. Save it to anywhere you want. Just put it in my desktop folder. Okay, let me set Xcode to full screen and let's make the font a bit bigger. Okay, and the next thing is we need to create our project using Firebase Web Console. Okay, so here I have my Chrome already opened, the firebase.google.com, already signed in. Here I can just go to here and then select the project. If you don't have any project, you can just create a new project by clicking on this add project button. But for me, I'm going to use my existing project, which is this spending tracker. Okay. And the next thing that you want to do is click this build and select Firestore database. When you open this at the first time, there will be a prompt for you to create a Firestore database and the region where you want to put the database. Just put any region that you want. And also, I think there's a checkbox where you can enable the dev mode, where it basically allow the write and read to anyone for the development purposes. Okay, so actually Firestore has a security rule which you can configure. Okay, so this is the my Firestore. I already have data in here, uploaded some data when I'm making this video. Okay, so after you created the Firestore database and select the region, now click this project overview and click plus and select this iOS plus, which is Apple, right? And the next one is you need to provide your bundle ID. So you can get it from here. So open Xcode, select this sign in capabilities, and here just select this bundle identifier. Okay. So for our multi-platform app, we are going to just use single bundle identifier for all of our application target iOS, macOS, and visionOS later. Okay. So just do it. So I'm already have my bundle identifier. I'm going to just use this one. Okay. And so yeah, the second step, there will be an option where you need to download this Google Service Info playlist. Okay. So just click download to download it to your local machine. And the next thing that you need to do is you need to copy that Google Service Info to your project Xcode project directory. Okay, so here the downloaded Google Service Info.plist, just finish to create it. Make sure the copy items if needed is checked. Okay, so yeah, we already have the Google Service Info. And next one, you need to also add the Firebase SDK. So copy this URL, repository URL, and go to this project settings, select this and select package dependency, click plus and just paste the URL and click add package. Think you need to wait if you just use it for the first time. For me, it's already cached. So for now, just don't select anything and just add package, as we only need to add Firestore to our target. Okay, so it's going to add the dependencies in here using SPM. Next thing is select the AI expense tracker target, select general tab, and from this framework libraries and embed content section, click this plus button. Here search for filter by typing Firestore. So here select only Firebase Firestore and Firebase Firestore Swift. Okay, you can do it by holding the command key and select the items. Okay, we only need these two. Okay, now it is added to our target. So for me, I think I missed one step, which is the bundle identifier is different. So I need to use this com.alvinlasari spending tracker. You can just copy this and update my bundle ID to use the same bundle ID. Okay, now I'm using the same bundle ID from my Xcode project as the one that I'm using in the Google Firestore project. If not using the same bundle ID, the Firebase app initialization will fail, okay, and we won't be able to access Firestore database. So that's it for this. Also, next one is for macOS. We need to enable this outgoing connections client, so we can make internet API request HTTP call. Because in macOS there's this app sandbox, okay. So outgoing connections client. Next one is we need to add the info plist, okay. So we are going to utilize Firestore local emulator to access the local database, okay. So we won't be hitting the actual Firestore cloud database when we are previewing in SwiftUI, okay. We're just going to access from the local Firestore functions for the SwiftUI preview. But for the debugging using the simulator, we are going to use the Firestore cloud. So for the local host, we need to add the key for app transport security settings. And there's one key that we need to add to be able to hit HTTP in our app, which is the allow arbitrary loads. With this, we should be able to load from localhost. And I also want to inform you regarding this Firestore database. So actually in here, for filtering and sorting capabilities, we will need to create composite index. As you can see here, we have these indexes. We have these indexes. So to filter and sort, we need to create a composite index based on the fields that we want to use. We don't need to worry much, as any query that we make without valid index will throw an error later containing an URL that we can use to create the index based on the query parameter that we create. So let me show you an example of that message. So it will throw an error, like something like this, okay. For best error, the query requires an index, you can create here. So basically later we can just click this and it will basically create the composite index based on the query parameter that we are using, okay. So you don't need to worry about this because for the local Firestore emulator, it doesn't use this index for making the query, okay, because the dataset is small and doesn't need index to make it optimized. So that's the thing that I want to mention about that index as well, okay. Next, I'm going to show you on how to use Firestore local suite emulator, okay. So we don't need to hit server when previewing using SwiftUI. Open your terminal and navigate to the project folder. So for me, it's in the desktop, AI expense tracker. Okay, so this is the project where I put it. Now you will need Node.js 18 to run the Firebase CLI and GDK 11 to run the local emulator. GDK is Java Development Kit, and Node.js is for running the Node.js JavaScript environment in your desktop. So please install the Firebase CLI using npm. I've provided the doc for the link on how to install those and description below as well. Okay, so I already installed everything, Node.js, GDK11, as well as the Firebase CLI using npm. So now I can simply type Firebase init. I think let's just use sudo because last time I encountered some issue with the permission and I'm not using sudo. Related to the local suite emulator, provide your password. Okay, it will show these options. For us, we just need Firestore and enter and use an existing project that we have just created. Okay, I'm going to use spending tracker. What file should be used for Firestore rules? Just use the default one, enter. What file should be used for Firestore.indexes? Use the default one. Okay, now we already set up this. Next one is we can just type this Firebase emulators start. Okay, if you see here, so If you haven't done it for the first time, there may be an prompt where you need to basically download the emulator first to your machine before you can do this. Okay, so just follow the instruction. For me, I already did that, so I can just use this Firebase emulator to start the Firestore emulator. And as you can see here, we can visit the emulator UI using this URL. So let's copy this and open it in Chrome. Okay, so this is the local emulator. So let me just add a collection. So collection is similar to table in SQL. Let's use collection in Firestore. And inside the collections, we have document, which is similar to row in SQL. So for us, we will have the several fields for our expenses log, which is ID, name, coffee, amount, which is the amount that we pay, currency, and for the world it's going to be USD, and it's going next one is date, which is a timestamp, and also the category. It's just going to be a string, just going to assign food. Okay, so this is the first step. Let me also create another one. ID, let's use this document ID generated, and next one is the name. It should be the let's say book. Okay, programming book. Amount, its number, let's say it's $20, and then the date, timestamp, and the category. And category, let me just assign it as learning. Okay, so later we will have an enum that will map this value to a Swift enum. Okay, let's save this. So now we have two steps for our expenses log that can be used to be put in the SwiftUI preview later. Okay, so this is the emulator UI, and when we want to connect to this actual Firestore in our SwiftUI application, we need to use this 8080 port. So it can be dynamic depending on your currently used port in your machine. So just make a notice of this port later. Okay, now we need to configure the Firebase before we can use the Firestore in our app. We will do this inside the app delegate did finish launching method. So to do that, let's create a new file here. Command N, Swift file, give it a name of app delegate. Okay. So inside this app delegate, first let's import Firebase and Firebase Firestore. Okay. And let's create a several private method in here. First one is, let's give it a live file private modifier, so it's only accessible to this file. First one is preview runtime. Okay, this is a function that returns a boolean to determine whether we are running on preview or not. Okay, SwiftUI preview or not. So we can do that by using process info dot process info, and then access the environment. This is a dictionary, and the key is Xcode underscore running underscore for underscore previews. Okay, previews. It's all uppercase, and we need to check if this is equal with this string of 1. Okay, so in case this value exists and it is equal to 1, it means we are running in the preview runtime, SwiftUI preview runtime. Next one is a file private func setup Firebase. Okay, in here we simply invoke firebase app.configure. Okay, and now let's add a check if the speed runtime is true. Let's get the settings, Firestore settings, using Firestore settings, and then let's set the host to localhost and use the port from this terminal. Okay, so here it shows 8080 for my Firestore, so I'm going to use that to access the local Firestore suite, emulator suite. And we need to set the is persistence enable to false, and let's set the is SSL enable to false. Okay, as this local suite emulator is using HTTP localhost. And finally, we just need to set the Firestore settings to this settings. Okay, so we are going only to use the Firestore local emulator suite when it is running in the Xcode preview for SwiftUI. Okay, now we can move on and then declare our app delegate class. So as you know, the app delegate is different between the macOS and other platforms. So for macOS, it's using NS app delegate, while for the other platforms, it's using UI app delegate. So we're going to use a conditional macro in here to determine. So if OS is macOS, and then else, so this is a macro. So if the OS is macOS, we're going to import Coco, right? So this is for macOS only, and then we're going to declare a class named appDelegate, which is an NS object subclass that conforms to the NS application delegate. Okay, so for macOS, we're going to use this delegate method. Application will finish launching notification, so this will be invoked before the view is rendered. Okay, in here we can simply invoke setup Firebase. Okay, so this is for macOS, and for the other platforms, we can simply declare class appDelegate, same name, also a subclass of NS object, but here we are going to conform to the UI application delegate. Okay, here for the else, you need to import UI kit. Okay, so let me change the scheme here to iPhone 15 Pro. Okay, now it's highlighting because iPhone 15 Pro is not in this, not going to execute this macro, right? Okay, so the method delegate that we are going to implement is application with finish launching with options. So every iOS developer must know about this, right? Return true, and here we need to also invoke setup Firebase. So yeah, this is for the configuration, creating the app delegate both for Coco and UI kit. Okay, now let's configure this in our application. Navigate to the AI expense tracker app, and in here, this is the entry point of our SwiftUI app. Okay, here we are going to add conditional macro again. If OS is macOS, and else. So to connect the app delegate to our SwiftUI app, we need to use this property wrapper, special property wrapper. For macOS, it's going to be called NS application delegate adapter. Okay, not adapter, O, not E, private var app delegate, the name of the var, and the type is going to be the app delegate instance. And for the other platform, it's going to be UI application delegate adapter, and we're going to also make this private and set the name of this of app delegate with the type of app delegate. Okay, so this will connect the SwiftUI app and then executes this app delegate when our app launch. So it will configure the Firebase for the first time. Okay, and next one in the body. So in the window group, only for macOS, I want to limit the minimum size of the window which you can use this macro. So this will only be added for the macOS, and I'm going to use this window accessibility, and I'm going to use the content minimum size. And for the content view, I'm going also to add a macro again only for macOS. So for macOS, I'm going to set the frame of this content view to min width of 728 and height of 480. Okay. Sorry, this should be min height. Okay. Let's try to build. Okay, the build succeeded. You can also try changing the scheme to Mac to check if this code executed successfully for the Mac. Okay, that's it for setting up the Firebase in our application. Next, let's create a models folder inside the project directory. Option Command N, and then give it a name of models for this folder. And the first model that we are going to create is category. So create a new zip file, give it a name of category. Okay, so this will be an enum. So we need to also import SwiftUI because we're going to have a computed property of color. So as there are many cases, and to save time, I will just copy and paste the code from the complete project. So I already also provided the link to the complete project description and the description below for you to just copy and paste this code as well. Copy and paste. Okay, so category enum, and it is a string type, identifiable as well with the ID of just self, and is case iterable. Okay, so these are the categories: accounting and legal fees, bank fees, consultants and professional service, depreciation, employee benefits, and so many more, right? Also, we have this system name icon, so we can represent this in the UI letter in the expense log using SF symbol. Okay, and this is the color. So the color and SF symbol, I asked ChatGPT to have them generate for me randomly. Okay, so if you want to change the symbol, you want to use another symbol or use another color, feel free to do that. Okay, so this is the category enum. Okay, so for the next model, so this is the most important one. So create a new SwiftUI file inside the models folder, give it a name of expense log. Okay, so for the expense log, let's declare a struct expense log, make it conforms to codable, identifiable, and equatable as well. Okay, and for the ID, for identifiable, let's just declare and let ID string, and for the other, let's declare a var name, the name of the expense category. So this will be stored as a string in the Firestore database, and then the amount will be double, whatever the cost of the expense, currency. Okay, it's going to be a string, and the date is going to be a Swift date instance. And let's create a computed property, category enum, which is category enum. Here we can simply just initialize category using the raw value of category property, which is string, and then if it fails, we're just going to use utilities as the default value. Okay, and then let's create an initializer here. So this is initializer for the ID, name, string, category, amount, currency, string, date. And for the currency, I want to provide a default value of USD. Okay, so default value. Okay, so if you see here in the Firestore local suite emulator, so this is the stubs that we have created. So it's going to be have amount, you can see, name, category, ID. Looks like for this one I missed the currency. Okay, let's add currency. USD. Okay, because if I miss that, it won't be displayed in the list later because it's going to fail to the code, as this currency is not optional, right? Okay, so please update the log, the stuff in here. Okay, that's it for the expense log. Now for the next model, which is sort. So still inside the merge folder, create a Swift file, give it a name of sort. So we are going to declare sort or type and sort order enums. We will use them to represent on which field we're going to use to sort the expense list. The options going to be date, amount, and time, and also for the order list, whether it's descending or ascending. Okay, so here sort type string, identifiable, case iterable. For the ID, you can just use self for the identifiable conformance. Next one is the cases. First one is date, and then amount, and then name. Okay, so that's sort type for you. And next one is the sort order. So it's going to be string, identifiable, case iterable as well. Also going to use self for the ID, and for the case we're just going to have two, ascending and descending. Okay, maybe if you don't want, you can also use a boolean to represent this, but for now I'm just going to use enum. Okay, so because sort order usually I only have two, right? Whether it's going to be ascending or descending. Okay, so for the next one, let's create a new Swift file here at the root of the project. Swift file, let's give the name of Utils. Okay, so basically here we're going to declare a struct which will host the static date, number, and formatter. So we will use them later to format the date and amount for the expense log in the UI. Okay, let's declare a struct, give the name of Utils, and in here declare a static let that formatter. The top is date formatter, and here let's provide a closure block for the initialization. Let's just initialize a formatter, let that formatter, and then set the formatter that format. Let me remove this backslash. We're just going to show the date and month, so the dd lowercase and /mm uppercase. Okay, so, and finally let's return the formatter. Okay, that's for the date formatter. Next one is the number formatter to format the amount, the currency. Let's declare the type as number formatter, and let's also provide a closure block. So in here, let's declare a let formatter, number formatter, and let's set the formatter is Lenian, determines whether the register will use heuristic to guess the number. Okay, here let's just use true for this, and let's set the number style to currency, and let's return the number formatter instance. So that's it for the utils. Now let's go back to our expense log model here, and now let's create an extension here below. Extension expense log. We're going to have a computer property. First one is date text, our string representation of the date that will be shown in the expense list UI. Here we can access that utils.number formatter, sorry, date formatter. This is static, and then use the string from passing the date property. Okay, and for the amount text string, we can use this first one. Let's set the utils number formatter currency symbol to currency property, and then let's use the return the utils.number formatter string from. Okay, here we need to use this ns number value passing our amount, And as this is optional, let's just provide a default value of string interpolation and just show the double amount here, passing the amount. Okay, so it's not going to be formatted if in case if this returns nil. Okay, that's it for the expense log and all the model. So the next one is database manager. So here at the root of the project, let's create a new Swift file, which is we're going to call database manager. So basically this is a singleton class named database manager. Okay, so let's cross database manager, and then let's create a singleton using static let shared, and then initialize it, and let's make the initializer private. Okay, so there are only going to be one instance of this app in the lifetime. Okay, cannot be accessed by this initializer is not accessible to the other. It can only access the instance using the shared static let. Okay, so basically we will use this class to interface with the Firestore database to create, update, and delete expense log item. For query, we will use a special Firestore SwiftUI property wrapper in our view directly later. So basically Firestore provides collection and documents, which is similar to table and row in SQL. They are not the same though, because Firestore support nested sub-collection. So if you want to learn more about the scheme of Firestore database and how to scale it properly according to your needs, I've provided the link in the description below for you to check. Okay, now let's continue here. Let's create a private set lazy var logs collection. So this will be a reference to the logs collection. So the type is going to be collection. Sorry, I forgot to import Firebase Firestore. Okay, now we can access this type of collection reference, a collection reference for the document. Okay, in here we can simply use Firestore dot Firestore and then collection, and then set these logs. Let me enter in here. So it should be equal assignment, and then here let's put a closure, right? Okay, so this is the reference to the logs collection that we can use to refer. Okay, continuing on, let's add the add method to insert the log into the collection as document. So add the parameter argument is going to be expense log. So it's going to be throwing for this one. So here we can use try and then use this logs collection reference and then use this document. And basically in here we're going to use this log.id as the document ID. So we're going to generate the document at client side. Okay, and then we're going to invoke set data. So it's going to accept encodable. Okay, set data from encodable. In this case, the expense log is already conformed to codable, which conforms to decodable and encodable automatically. So here passing the log. So that's it for add. Next one is updating and log. So one parameter as well, and here we can simply use this logs collection dot document, and we need to pass the ID that we want to update, and then we need to pass a dictionary here containing the fields that we want to update. So in here I'm going to just set the name to log.name and amount to log.amount and category to log.category, and finally date to log.date. Should be okay now. And finally, we're going to declare this delete that accept an expense log. For deletion, we can simply use this logs collections.document passing log.id and then invoke delete. Okay, this will delete the document for this ID, this logs collection. Okay, that's it. Now let's try to build first in case there's some build issue. But no, the build succeeded. Okay, now let's move on by creating a folder and give it a name of new models. Okay, and here let's create a new zip file. Give it a name of log list view model. So basically, this log list view model represents the state of the expenses list, such as the selected sort type, sort order, and the selected categories filter. Okay, so here let's use the new observation framework, and let's declare this observable at the top, and then declare the class log list view model. First, let's just declare db, which is the DatabaseManager.shared singleton, and then let's just declare our var. First one is the sort type, the default value is date, and then the sort order, default value is descending. Okay, and we're going to have a set. Let's give it a name of selected categories. It's going to be a set of category enum. Okay, and let's also declare a property to determine whether we should present the add from sheet or edit from sheet. Okay, first one, for the add, we're going to just use a boolean where we're going to toggle this when the user tap on the add button later. Default value will be false, of course, and then log to edit. So when the user select an expense log, when they tap on the row, we're going to set the value of this, and then we're going to bind it to a form sheet. Okay, so the default value is going to be optional and nil. Okay, so this is for the log list view model. Now let's just create a new folder again, give it a name of views, and inside this view folder let's create our first SwiftUI view, and let's give it a name of filter categories view. So basically this represents a scrolling carousel where the user can basically select multiple categories to be filtered in the expense list. Okay, so let me just use iPhone for the preview in here. Okay, and let's begin by declaring a binding, which is going to be selected categories, set category as a type, and let's grab private let categories for the user to select. It's going to be category.all cases. Okay, now we need to pass the binding for the preview. So in here we can just declare state and give the name of VM, and then let's just initialize log list view model. And in here we need to add the return keyword. For the binding, let's just use $VM dot. We need to pass the set of category, which is selected categories. Okay, now let's move on to the view. So let's declare a struct to represent the filter button. Okay, struct filter button view. It's going to be view as well in here, And basically for the filter button view, let's declare a properties. First one is category. It's going to be category, and then is selected. It's going to be a boolean, and then on tap, which is going to be a handler when the user tap on a category inside the button. Okay, so in the filter categories view, this one will be the container where we'll be using an edge tag and a scroll view. First one, let's just declare an on tap method that accepts a category. So in here, we can simply check if the selected categories contains the category which the user tapped. In the case it contains, we can just simply toggle it by removing it. Okay, so it will be unselected. And in case it doesn't contains, we can simply insert the selected category. Now let's move on to the body. So let's just declare a fish tag in here, and then let's declare a scroll view with the horizontal axis, and then in here let's declare a edge tag with the spacing of 8, and then we're just going to use for each to parse the categories, which is an array of category enum, right? So in the view provider, we're going to declare the filter button view. Passing the category is selected, we're going to use self.selected categories contains category, and then the on tap will this one contains member category, and then on tap we can just pass the on tap method. Okay, so this is has the same signature, right? category, so it will work. Okay, so in here let's have also a padding of horizontal. Now let me try to render the preview. Okay, so we got the preview in here. So currently it's only printing the hello world, but now let's continue to implement the view. Okay, so below this cursor I want to also add a button to clear all the selected categories using a button. If the selected category is larger than 0, I'm going to declare a button with the role of destructive, and here I'm going to, for the handler, I'm going to basically invoke self.selected categories that remove all selection. And for the label, I'm going to pass this text using string interpolation, clear all filter selection, and then let's self.selected categories.count. Okay, let's put this inside a parenthesis. Okay, now let's implement the filter button view. So for the filter button view, let's remove the hello world and then declare an edge tag with the spacing of 4. Here let's just declare text passing raw value dot capitalize, and then let's set the fixed size for horizontal as true and vertical as true. Okay, now we have this rendered. Nice, right? But we need to add a border shape like a pill to this button. So let's add a padding with the horizontal of 16 and a padding with the vertical of 4. And then let's add a background. Okay, inside the background, let's just declare a rounded rectangle with the corner radius of 16, and let's set the stroke. Okay, so for stroke, if it is selected, we're going to use ternary. we're going to set the color. If it is not, we're just going to choose a gray color. Okay, this one is going to use the category color if it is selected. If not, we're just going to use a gray color, and then we're going to set the line width as 1. Okay, and then let's also for this rounded rectangle, let's add an overlay on top of this. Okay, let's add a rounded rectangle and then corner radius of 16 with the foreground color here. If it is selected, we're going to set the category dot color. Otherwise, we're going to just assign it with the clear color. Okay, now after the background, let's declare a frame with the height of 44 and set the on tap gesture to trigger the on tap closure passing the category, and then set the foreground color. If it is selected, set the foreground color to white. This will affect the text color. Okay, in case it's not, let's just use nil. So let's try to use this preview. Select. Nice. As you can see, when we select, it will set the background as the category color, and then the text will be white. Let's select multiple. Wow, this is colorful, right? Looks great. So the state of the category button will be using the color as the background when it is selected, and when we clear this all, it should clear everything. Okay, so the background is going to be clear, and the stroke of the border is going to be just using a gray color. Okay, that's it for this filter categories colors. We're going to add we're going to use this to filter the expenses list based on the selected categories, and it supports multiple selection of categories as well. Okay, so let's move on to the next view, which is the select sort order view, to let the user select the order by and sort by. So here inside the views folder, create a new SwiftUI file and give it a name of select sort order view. Okay, so now let's cross several properties here. First one is the environment, which is the horizontal size class. So we're going to use the size class to determine whether to use an text or an SF symbol image for the representation of each selection. Okay, and then binding sort type with the type of sort type. Next one is the binding var sort order, which is sort order type. And next, let's declare let sort types, which is sort type all cases. Next one, sort orders. It's going to be sort order all cases. Okay, these are all the properties for this view. Now let's declare the preview. So let's declare a VM, which is the lock list view model, which provide the binding. Okay, so for the sort type, we can access using $sign VM sort type. Next one is $sign VM sort order. Okay, now we also need to add return for this view. Okay, now while in here, I want to add a private func. So system name image with the parameter of sort type. should be string. So instead of doing this in here, I'm just going to use the same approach as the one in category. So system name icon, I'm going to declare this in sort type enum as well. Now let's just use switch on the self. Okay, for date it's going to be $sign dot circle. For that is amount. For the date it's going to be calendar as a symbol, and for the name it's going to be this A letter. Okay, with this we should be able to generate an image based on the sort type. Select the sort type. Now let's move on to the body. So in the body, let's remove the hello world text and then declare an h tag here. And for this h tag, let's add a padding, and also set the frame with the height of 64. Okay, and then inside the h tag, let's begin from the sort type first. So if the OS is not macOS, we're going to use text to display the label or the picker. So this will be on iOS, sort by, because the picker does not display the label by default like the one in macOS. Okay, so picker, and then in here we can use this selection and then label content. So for the selection, let's pass the sort type, and for the label, let's pass a text sort by. This sort by text will be rendered in macOS, but not on other platform, UIKit platform. And then inside this picker, let's declare for each passing sort types. Okay, and here we can simply get this type in. So if the horizontal size class is compact, we're just going to use an image. For the system name, we can simply use type.systemName icon. Okay, and let's not forget to add the tag modifier passing the type to bind it to the selection. Okay, and else for the other horizontal size class, we're just going to display the label text raw value dot capitalized, and let's also add a tag passing the type. And we want to use a segmented picker style. Okay, so add this picker style modifier. Okay, looks good for the sort by. And now let me copy this. It's going to be very similar for the order, but we need to just make several modifications, small modification. Okay, this is going to be order by, and in here for the binding it's going to be sort order, and for each array it's going to be sort orders, and here it's going to be order, and for the image here we're going to basically check using ternary. So if the order is ascending, ascending, we're going to use arrow.up symbol. Otherwise we're going to use arrow down. Okay, and for the tag we need to pass the order. Also for the tags you need to use order raw value and pass the order. Okay, looking good. This is how it looks on iOS, and let me show you on device with regular horizontal size class. It should display the text. Let me use iPad Pro. Okay, so this is on iPad Pro. As you can see in iPad Pro, it uses the text instead of image. So this will also be the same on macOS and visionOS because they have regular size class. So that's it for the select sort order view. Okay, now let me just change this back to iPhone for the preview. Next one is the category image view, where we will use that to show the image of the category in the expense log item. Okay, so just declare a SwiftUI view, give the name of category image view. It's going to be pretty simple for this. It's just going to accept a category. In the preview, we can just simply pass the category. Let's say food, let's say utilities, and then let's implement the body. I'm just going to use image to render the SF symbol based on the category system name icon computed property, and then make this resizable. Also add an aspect ratio content mode passing fit, and let's hardcode the frame width to 20 and height to 20, and let's add a padding to all edges, padding of 8, and let's add the foreground color, which is going to be the category.color, and let's add a background as well, which is going to be the category color with the opacity of 0.1, and then let's add a corner radius of 18. Okay, as you can see, this is the representation of this category image view. Looks good, right? Combines the color and the system name icon of the category. Okay, now let's move on to the next view, which is the log item view to represent the expense log UI. Create a new SwiftUI view, give it a name of log item view. Declare a let log expense log instance, and then declare an environment for the horizontal size class key. Give it a name of horizontal size class. So we will use a different layout between the compact and regular horizontal size class. Now for the log item view, I'm going to wrap it the preview in VStack, and then in here I'm going to pass an array of stub log expense log. Okay, let me use this one, ID 1, name, sushi, category, food, amount, 10, date, now. Second one, expense log, ID 2, name, let's say water, let's say electricity, non-electricity bill. Category will be utilities, and then amount will be 50. That it's also now. Okay, and then so expense log is already identifiable, so we can pass the view provider, and then in here we can just pass the log item view by injecting the log. Okay, that's for the preview. We have two stops. Let's format this. Okay, looks a bit better now. Okay, now let's begin the implementation of the log item view. Okay, first, let's declare a var, give it a name of compact view. Okay, some view. Here we simply declare a stack with a spacing of 16. Okay, and next one is regular view. Let's declare a vstack for this, and then in the body we can just use the switch statement, passing the horizontal size class. In case it is compact, we're going to render the compact view, and then default we just render the regular view. Okay, let's implement the compact view now. So inside the vstack, let's declare a category image view, passing the log.category enum. Okay, and then let's declare a vstack with the alignment of leading and spacing of 8. Inside this vstack, let's declare tags, passing log.name. Let's set the font to headline, and then second tags below it, it's the log.getText, passing the font of a sub headline style, and then let's add a spacer after the vstack, and let's declare text log mount text with the font of headline. Okay, let's add a padding to the preview. Looks good. Okay, now for the regular view, let me change scheme to Mac, change this preview device to my Mac as well. Okay, it's going to rebuild and re-render for the Mac target. Maybe it can take some time. So for the Mac, let me declare an edge tag inside this. Okay, so for the Mac, so actually this is also an edge tag. Okay, with the spacing of 16. And then here let's also declare a category image view, passing log.category enum, then add a spacer, and let's declare log.name. Let's set the frame width as 0, max width as infinity. We want to have equal spacing, so we're going to do this. Alignment as leading. Okay, then add spacer again, and the second text is going to be log.amount text. Let's copy this frame and spacer. Okay, and let's move on to the third text, which is this log.getText. Okay, let's also apply the modifier and add a spacer. And finally, we're going to have this log.category enum.raw value. Okay, dot raw value. And then let's also apply this. Okay, now looks good. This is the preview for the macOS. Okay, so this is the log item view. It's going to render this in the regular size class such as visionOS, iPadOS standard view, and also the visionOS. Remember that in the iPadOS, we can have the split view as well as the view over the top can be compact as well, right? So in iPadOS, it will support horizontal size class, compact and regular, okay, depending on how we put it in our view. Let me show you later. So this is it for the log item view. Okay, next one is the log list view. Create a new SwiftUI view, give a name of log list view. So this view will utilize Firestore query, SwiftUI view property wrapper, it's a special property wrapper to drive the list in the view given the predicates. Okay, query predicates. So we need to import Firebase Firestore to this view to use it. And first, let's declare a binding var VM log list view model. And then next one is we need to declare this Firestore query property wrapper, so it accepts the collection path. In our case, it's going to be logs, the name of our collection, and the predicates. Okay, so we cannot access the VM dot order by or anything. So for now, we just go provide the value directly in here by hard coding it for the initial value. Okay, so order by is going to be sort type date raw value, so this is the default order by, and then descending is going to be true. So these are the default predicates, and later when the sort types order and the filter selected categories get updated, we are going to update the predicates as well. Now let's give it name of private var logs with the type of expense log array. So basically under the hood, it will query the collection reference logs from the Firestore, and then it's going to decode this using this expense log. Remember that this expense log conforms to codable, so it's going to try to decode this. And if it fails, it won't be displayed in the list. Okay. So we have that. Now we need to pass the binding of our VM here. So instead of doing this, let's declare a stat var VM here to store the state of log list view model, and then in here we can simply return. We don't need to pass the constant, let's just pass the actual binding. Now let's declare a view named list view. So for the iOS, we're going to use a standard list, but for other platform, we are going to use a scroll view instead of a system. Okay, so let's use macro for this. If the OS is iOS and else. So if OS, iOS, it's very simple. We're going to declare a list and then call for each, passing the logs, and then log in. Here we can simply declare the log item view, passing the log, and then let's set the content shape as rectangle, so it is tappable. The entire row is tappable, and then set the tap gesture to in the ender. We're going just to assign the form log to edit to log. This will trigger the presentation of the edit form sheet later. Okay, and then let's add a on tap gesture. Let's add a padding vertical 4, and in this for before we move this, let me declare a func inside this for to handle the on delete. Okay, so let's go a private func on delete with index set You can simply use index set for each, grab the index, and basically declare the lock, get it from the index, and get it from the Firestore array. And here we can simply invoke vm.db.delete, parsing the lock that we want to delete inside the Firestore. Okay, now in this for each we can simply add this on delete and pass the on delete self.on delete. I forgot we need to use this one, perform. Okay, this one is the one that is matching the parameter. Okay, so in the else block we need to declare cstack. The cstack declare scroll view, and then in the scroll view let's add the content margins. Content margins vertical 8 and 4 on scroll content. So this will add the content margins through scroll view, a bit of padding at the vertical with the size of 8. Okay, so actually this list I forgot to add the list style of plain style. Okay, so continuing on macOS, so in here we can simply declare this list view. Okay, so in the macOS inside the scroll view we're going to use for each, passing the locks array, and then in here can simply access the lock, and inside the lock let's declare a vstack, and let's put a declare a lock item view passing the lock and add a divider between. Okay, and continuing on, let's add a frame with the min width of 0 and max width of infinity and alignment of leading. And let's add a content shape of rectangle and also padding of horizontal. And an on tap gesture as well, which will assign this pm.lock to edit to the actual lock. Okay, and finally let's add a context menu. Let's add a button of edit, which will basically assign vm.lock to edit to the lock, button delete, and then in here we can simply invoke vm.db.delete, passing the lock. Okay, let's try to rebuild. Okay, succeeded, and basically in here let's try to rebuild. So it's not rendered properly, so I think in here we need to add a frame only for macOS. iOS is macOS. Let's add a hard-coded width, frame width, let's say 500. Okay, it's rendered now properly. So let's set the width to 700. Looks good on macOS. Now we'll need to check on iPhone 15 Pro. Okay, looks good as well on iPhone 15 Pro. So in the body we're going to add a sheet modifier, and we're going to use this item passing the binding of vm.log to edit. And for the on dismiss, we're going to set vm.log to edit to nil. Okay, and in the content we can simply so we're going to basically create a log form view, but we're going to do it a bit later, so I'm going to just put a placeholder in here to do log form view. We're going to implement the form view later. Okay, let's focus on the list first. So after this, let's add an overlay for this list view. So if the logs is empty, we're going to just show a text: no expenses data, please add your expenses using the add button. Okay, let's set the multi-line text alignment, passing center, and add the font as headline, and add the padding as horizontal. Okay, so it will be shown when there is no expenses logs in the database. Okay, so we need to also add several modifier, but now let's just declare this update Firestore query. So in this method, we're going to update the predicates of this Firestore query based on the selection of predicates from the selected category, sort by and sort filter inside this VM. So we're going to add the onChange modifier in here. OnChange of vm.sortType. We're going to invoke Firestore query. Let's copy this twice. So sort type, sort order, or selected categories. If one of these change, will trigger the update Firestore query method, and then we'll update the predicates. Okay, so this is the implementation of it. Now let's handle on updating the predicates. So let's go to the log list view model in here. So in here, let's create a compare property predicates. We'll need a Firebase Firestore because we're going to use the type. It's going to be an array of query predicate. Okay, so here's how we construct the predicates for the query based on our selection. First, let's declare an array query predicate. So by default, it's going to query everything, right? And here we check if the selected categories the count is larger than 0. We're going to use predicates append, okay, and then use this where field is in, okay, where the field category is inside this array, which we can construct using array selected categories. So this is a category enum. We need to map this to string, because in the database category is stored as a string. Can just use this map raw value. Okay, so the first predicate, if the selected categories is larger than 0, we're going to use word field category is in the array of selected categories string. Okay, now continuing on, let's append the second predicate. Append. Here we need to use this order by descending. We can just use sort type dot raw value. Okay, can be date, amount, or the name, and then descending, we're going to use this sort order. If it is equal descending, it's going to be true. Not, it's going to be false. Okay, and finally we can return this predicates array. And now, as simple as going back to the log list view and set this update Firestore query $sign to access the p value, and then use this predicates, and then asking for the new one from the view model. Okay, so it should update the predicates now. We cannot test this now because there is no way we can change the selection of the filter as well as sort by. So we're going to wrap this in another container view next. Okay. So now let's create a new SwiftUI view. Give it a name of log list container view. Okay, log list container view. So let's declare a binding of VM, which is the log list view model. And now let's declare this state var VM log list view model and return by initializing it, passing the VM state. This need to be passed as a binding using the dollar prefix. And I also want to put this inside a navigation stack. Okay. Let me move this and return the navigation stat instead. So first, let's declare a vstack with the spacing of 0. And then let's put filter categories view at the top. We need to pass the binding of selected category set. Okay. And then let's add a divider and then declare the select sort order view. We need to pass the binding of vm.sortType and vm.sortOrder. And looks nice. Let's add a divider again here. And now we can declare the log list view passing the binding of our log list view model. Wow, looks very nice actually. Okay, and let's add the navigation bar title here. We need to check if the OS is not macOS. Then we're going to use this navigation bar title. Navigation bar title. Let's pass the title that you want. I'm going to pass CAAI expense tracker and set the display mode as inline. Wow, nice. So that's the title. So this modifier is not available on macOS. So that's why I'm adding this modifier. So above this, let's add a sheet to show the add form. We're going to use this boolean, right? Which is log from percentage. Okay. So here inside this, we don't have the log form view yet. So let's just declare to do log form view. Okay, now above this, let's add a toolbar. Let's add a toolbar item. And let's declare a button here using the action label. So in the action handler, we just set the log from percentage true. So this will trigger this sheet to be presented because it is true. And in the label, we're going to check if the OS is macOS, and else, and if. So for iOS, we're just going to show a simple add text. For macOS, we're going to show this h tag, passing system name of plus, and then symbol rendering mode of monochrome, thin accent color, and also add a text of add expense log. Okay, so this is how it's rendered in iPhone. Now let's change the skin to Mac and see the preview. Change this to my Mac. Let's wait a bit. Okay, so this is how it is rendered. Nice. Now we can play around, right? In here. Oh, it cannot run this. Let's just play around using the iPhone. I don't want to run it in the simulator, so I'm just going to play on the preview. We'll do it in simulator later. Okay, so in here we can filter. Let's say we want to filter by selecting only food. Nice, so coffee is food. And let's say learning. Nice, programming book. So sort by date, sort by amount, sort by alphabetical, and because the expense log is are only two, so it's hard to see, right? You can create more steps and play around to see whether it's working or not. Okay, but I think it will work without issue. Okay, so this is it for the log list content view. Okay, now let's go back to the content view. Okay, so this is the root view of our application, and we're going to use an environment horizontal size class key to determine whether to use tab view or navigation split view. Tab view will be for the compact and visionOS, and split view, navigation split view will be for the regular size class. Okay, for the iPadOS and as well as the macOS. So let's declare state var VM. So let's initialize the log list view model. And second one, let's declare an environment using the horizontal size class key and give it a name of horizontal size class. Now let's declare the tab view first, tab view. Okay, some view. So here, tab view, the first one is going to be the expenses tab. Let's wrap it navigation stack and then declare the log list container view passing the binding of a log list view model. Okay, and let's add a step item modifier where we can just pass the label. The title is expenses and the icon is trade. Okay, let me also declare the split view, some view. For now, let's just for the text split view, and then in the body we can begin to implement the body so we can see the preview as we build. So in the body, we're going to check if the OS is macOS. We're just going to use the split view. Else, if OS is visionOS, we're going to use the tab view. And else, this will be iPadOS and iOS or iOS. We're going to use the horizontal size class to determine which one to render. In case of compact, we're going to use tab view, and default one we're going to use split view. Remember that in iPadOS they can use split override, so it is able to use to have the compact horizontal size class. Okay, so this is on iPhone, we have one single tab. Now, while in here, let me just also declare the second tab. We're not going to implement the AI assistant tab, but let's just put it for now. Let's just put a text AI assistant. The label is going to be AI assistant, and the system image is waveform. Okay, so if you see, that's the waveform AI assistant. Nice, right? So we have two tabs. Okay, now let's set the first one with the tag of 0 and second one with the tag of 1. Okay, Now let's move on to the split view. For this, I'm going to change the scheme to my Mac, change the device as well in here. Okay, let's begin. So let's declare navigation split view, and in here we pass the detail. The default, the initial one is going to be the lock list container view, passing the binding of lock list view model. And to set the title, we're going to pass this navigation title, XCA AI Expense Tracker, or any title that you want. Looks good. For the split view, we need to use this navigation link. For the destination, just pass the lock list container view, again passing the binding of VM, and let's pass the label as well. The label title is going to be expenses, and system image is tray. And looks a bit weird, I forgot to put it in a list. Okay, list. Wow, now looks good. Okay, next one, let's just copy this and copy the label. We don't have the AI system tab for now, so let's just pass a text AI system. Okay, so this will be on macOS. Wow, looks nice, right? Also on visionOS, it's going to use this navigation split view. Okay, so I'm not going to preview using visionOS because it can be very slow when used to previewing it in preview with the current state of Xcode. Also, we need to pass a special Firestore flag to make it build on Firestore. I will tell you later. Okay, looks good on macOS, looks good on iOS, iPadOS as well. Okay, so for iPadOS, can change the scheme to iPad device and change it in here as well. So this here how it looks on the iPadOS. As you can see, it will have the sidebar as well. Looks great, right? So this is how it looks in the portrait, landscape. Yeah, you can play around with it. That's the idea. Okay, so we have implemented the content view, the initial view of our app. It's going to be either split view or the tab view based on this logic that we put inside the body. Okay, now let's move on to implement the log from implementation. This will be the final part of this video. Log from. Let's begin from the view model. Let's declare a SwiftUI file first. Give it a name of log from view model. Import foundation, import observation. Let's declare observable and give a class of form view model. The first property is going to be log to edit. Okay, this will determine whether the form should be an edit or add. Okay, and let's declare DB. Let's just use DB and get the singleton instance. And the name, we're going to bind this to the text field. The amount is going to be double, and category it's going to be, let's assign the default value of category.utilities. And next one is the date. Let's assign with the default value of current date. And let's have a compile property to determine whether the save button is enabled or not. Using save button disabled, it's going to be a boolean. Here let's just use the name to determine. Let's trim it. Let's spell a new lines is empty. So when this is empty, the name is empty, we're going to disable the save button. And next one, let's declare a number formatter to format the currency. So in here we just create formatter, number formatter, this is a closure, and then return formatter, and let's add several assignment to the properties. Is linear true, formatter, the number style is going to be currency, and formatter dot currency code. So we're just going to support USD by default. We won't provide any selection for user to change the currency. Okay, just to simplify this app. Okay, so let's create an initializer, which is log to edit as the parameter. Of course, this will be optional. Okay, when it is nil, it means we are adding the log, creating a new log. If it exists, then it means we are editing this log. So let's assign this to edit, and then if let log to edit, the log to edit exists, then let's just update the property of name to log to edit dot name, self dot amount to log to edit dot amount, self dot category to log to edit category enum, and self dot date to log to edit dot date. And let's set the number formatter dot currency code with the log to edit dot currency. It should be here, sorry. Okay, so this is the initializer. Next one, let's create a save method. So let's draw this log, expands log. In here, if log to edit exists, you can simply assign the log to edit, else we're going to initialize a new log, expands log. Okay, just pass the UUID string, and for the name we can just pass this empty string. Category, let's just pass anything, doesn't really matter because we're going to update this. Okay, and now we're going to update the value inside this log from the property self.name the trimming characters in white space and new lines to make sure there are no trailing spaces or new lines, and then category to category to raw value, and log the amount to self.amount, and log.date to self.date. Okay, so we're going to check if self log to edit is nil. It means we're going to invoke insert add from database passing the log. Else it means there's a log to edit, we need to update. You can simply update db.update passing the log with the newest values. Okay, this is for the save when the user tap the save button. And next one, let's have a delete. Okay, log expands log. Yes, we're just going to delete the log in the DB. Okay, that's it for the implementation of form view model. Now let's just create the view. Create a new SwiftUI view. Log form view. Okay, let's declare several properties. First one is a state var VM. It's going to be a form. We're going to inject this from outside actually, from view model. Okay, and then the environment, we're going to use this to dismiss this var presentation mode. I think there's a new one, right? Dismiss. Okay, let's use this. We can simply invoke this to dismiss. This is the latest one, latest API from SwiftUI. It's recommended to use dismiss instead of presentation mode. And then I'm going to declare a macro here. If OS, if not OS, macOS, it means other OS than macOS. I'm going to declare a title string. Here I'm going to just set VM log to edit is equal to nil, then it's going to be create, else it's going to be edit. Okay, let's put it in this parenthesis and then add an plus space expands log. This is for the navigation bar title actually. So we will have a different body between iOS and macOS, between macOS and the other one. So let's declare an else in here and then an if. Okay, let's copy the body. So this should compile for now, but we will have a common component. Let's declare that first. In here we can simply pass the VM by initializing. Okay, now let's declare the private var form view. This will be used on both the macOS and the others. So let's declare a form in here and then just declare a text field. The title is name, and let's bind this vm.name, and then let's disable the auto correction. And next one is text field amount, passing the value of this vm.amount, and we are also going to pass a formatter, which is vm.number formatter. Okay, and now if the OS not macOS, okay, set the macro again. We need to add the keyboard type, numbers, and punctuation. Okay, so this is not available on macOS, this modifier. Okay, now let's continue. Add a pipe picker, selection, vm.category, and the label will be text category, and then here we just need to declare the for each passing category all cases, category in, just show the category dot raw value dot capitalize, and then add a tag modifier passing the category. Now below this picker we will going to declare a that picker, and then bind the selection to vm.date, and we're going to add display components containing the array of date and time, so user can modify the date and time. So this is not actually time, it's actually hour and minute, sorry. Okay, and we need to pass the text date, so when the user tap on this text it will show the date picker. Okay, so this is the form view. Let's begin implementing the body. But before that, let's declare the functions first. First one is on cancel tab. So when the user tap on cancel, we're just going to invoke the dismiss environment to dismiss this sheet. Okay. Next one is on save tab. Here we're going to check if not OS macOS. We're going to use this UI application shared send action. Okay, selector. We're going to pass UI responder assign first responder. For the two, let's just pass nil, from nil, and for also nil. This will dismiss the keyboard, I think. And now we can invoke save, and after save we can just dismiss. Okay, that's it for the methods. Now let's begin implementing the body. So let's begin from the else macro. Here we declare a vstack, and then let's declare a form view and add a padding. and then X stack, add a button, cancel, self on cancel tab. Next one is button save, self on save tab, and let's set the button style for the self to border prominent button style, and then the disabled modifier based on this is self button disabled. So add padding to this, and I'll set the frame to min width of 300. Okay, now let's implement for this. Let's look at our navigation view, navigation stack, and let's look at our from view, and let's add a toolbar, and then toolbar item placement confirmation action. For the confirmation action, let's declare a button save with the action handler of self on save tab. We're going to disable this if the VM is button disabled true. Let's copy this and then change this to cancellation action for replacement, and change the title to cancel. So here we're just going to invoke on cancel tab. We don't need to add this for cancel. User can cancel at any time. Okay, and after the toolbar, let's add a navigation bar title. With the title, let's pass the title of the computed property, and display mode should be inline. Okay, create expense log because we passed nil in the preview. Okay, so this is the implementation for the log from view. We need to hook this up. First one, let's navigate to the log list view to replace the placeholder. Okay, if you see here, we just replace this with log from view, and we need to initialize the log from view model passing the log. Okay, so this is for the edit form. And the next one is the log list container view for add form. I think there will be a sheet, this one, sheet modifier. So this one is going to be pretty simple. Log form view, initialize. Just init this without passing log to edit. Okay. Let me change to iPhone 15 Pro for the preview. Let's see. It doesn't work. I think we need to use simulator for testing this. So I think this is now the time. I think we have built everything. Yeah. Let's just run this in simulator. Okay, it is running on simulator. I'm going to start two simulator at the same time. Let's also run the iPadOS simulator because we need to verify whether the syncing is working or not. So when running on simulator, it's going to access the database. Okay, I already populated the data in my database in here, so it show. Okay, if you see in here, nice, this is the data from the cloud Firestore. This is from the cloud server, not from the local Firestores. So yeah, nice. So this is the OS, iPadOS, iOS. So we have this as well, and let's try the split over. Okay, Straight over. Wow, nice. Let me open Safari. As you can see, now it's rendered in the horizontal size class compact. So it's using this layout tab view. Nice, like if you see the log item view as well, it's not using the column, the H tag, right? This is really good. Okay, you can update to split view, can make it bigger. Okay, let me rotate. Wow, it's using the compact size class with the navigation split view now. Okay, everything looks good from the layout side. Now let's test the add capability. Okay, so add, it's going to present the sheet, and this is how it looks on iPadOS. Hello, not hello, let's say espresso, and $3. It's going to be food, save. Okay, espresso, nice. Let's edit from iPad. Ice, 350. Save. It's rounded to 4, but yeah, we can not so much worry about that later. Okay, so it's synced, it's updated. The edit works as well. Now let's try the deletion. Okay, delete. Okay, works as well. Before I forget, let's also test this using Mac. Okay. Okay, here you go. This is the Mac application. Looks nice as well. So on Mac, we can right click and it will show the context menu where we can click to edit. Wow. So this is how the edit looks in macOS. Add. Yeah, everything looks good. Only one thing, why this accent color is a bit muted. I think I forgot something. Yeah, I think I forgot to add this foreground style modifier where I need to pass the color dot accent color. Okay, because with that color people think the button is disabled. Let's see. Oh, now it's good. It's showing the accent color for the people to, for the user to click. Yeah, everything looks good now. We can filter. Wow, it is amazing. Okay, so for adding the visionOS, I won't be demoing that because it's going to take more time to rebuild. Because currently there's an issue to build the Firestore. It needs to use the binary source. So first, let me just show you in here the targets. Go to General and just add a new target, Apple Vision, and select Apple Vision Native. Okay, enable destination support. So it will build automatically. Every code that we use, it will work. Okay, what we need to do now is just to close Xcode. Okay, we need to close Xcode. And we need to pass a special parameter when opening Xcode, special environment variable. So we need to basically pass this open, use this open and pass this env and use this Firebase source Firestore. Okay, and then path to our Xcode pouch file. For example, this one, expense tracker Xcode pouch. So it will open Xcode. So make sure you quit first before you do this, okay? Because otherwise it won't work. So it's going to use the Firebase source Firestore to build from binary, and then you can just change this to the visionOS emulator, and then yeah, it will rebuild everything again from scratch, build, and for this time if you use this flag, it's going to take some time to build, and then you can run it using Apple Vision Pro. So I won't be demoing that, okay, because I already did demo before at the beginning of this video. But that's basically it for this first part of this series where we'll build the AI Expense Tracker multi-platform SwiftUI app. So congratulations, you have successfully built this app. It's a real-time expense tracker app, multi-platform, iOS, iPadOS, macOS, visionOS. It's real-time using Firestore. So congrats. And in next part, we're going to add an AI assistant capability. So stay tuned and subscribe for the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and let's keep on being a lifelong learner forever. So see you in the next one. Goodbye.